You're watching CCN, Clarksville Community Network, produced by Goodwin Productions. Powered by CDE Lightband.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Clarksville's Political Forum. I'm Van Stokes, your moderator for today's session, and on behalf of Leadership Clarksville and your Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce, we are glad you could be with us today. Once again, we are coming to you from the Customs House Museum and Cultural Center here in Clarksville. And as always, this forum is designed to give you, the voters, an informed choice when you go to vote in the federal, state, and city of Clarksville general election on Tuesday, November the 5th. In this session today, we will have the opportunity to meet and talk with the candidates who will be on the ballot for the Clarksville City Council representing Ward Number 3. They are to my left, Mr. Carlos Peters and Mr. Josh Wikholm. We'll begin this session with each candidate having 2 minutes in which to present opening remarks. And then following this segment, we will turn to our panelists for questions. Joining us as panelists today are Mr. J. Albertia, Ms. Susan Zidek, and Ms. Lorneth Peters. Now, each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond to each question from our panelists, with the first response coming in a rotating order. At the conclusion of the questioning, each candidate will then have 2 minutes in which to present closing statements. Closing statements will be presented in reverse order from the opening statements. Our timekeeper for this session is Mr. Phil Harpel. The City Council is comprised of 12 council members, each representing a different ward of the city. Members are elected to a 4-year term. Now, the City Council votes on city ordinances and resolutions governing the city of Clarksville. It also approves the budget for the city and sets the city property tax rate. Council members approve changes to city policy as specified in the City Code of Clarksville. The council is also responsible for adopting potentially far-reaching policies and ensuring that those policies are indeed followed. Each council member is appointed to serve in one or more committees that may include the Community and Economic Development Committee, the Finance Committee, the Gas and Water Committee, Parks and Recreation, Public Safety, Streets and Garage Committee, and the Transportation Committee. Now let's go to our candidates for opening comments. We will hear first from Mr. Carlos Peters.
Hello, everybody. My name is Carlos Peters. I've been a resident of Clarksville for about 35 years. I served in the military with Fort Campbell, was a combat vet there. Got out, stayed here, thought it was a great city, so I wanted to become a part of the city. My wife and I have raised 2 kids here. They went through the Clarksville-Montgomery County school system. They've graduated, and both have since went on to graduate from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. The reason I'm running is the city, I believe, is being ran great, but in our ward, we're lacking in areas of, we don't have, I think we're getting left behind. So I want to run for that reason. We've got money being spent all over the city, and in Ward 3, I think we're just not getting the funds we need. We got city things with traffic and all that. So that's why I'm running. I want to fight for the constituents and try to get some recognition for our ward. And I think we've just been left too far behind. We've got traffic issues. We've got all that. So we got businesses coming in. We've got apartments and housing being built all over the place, and there's no real true plan, in my opinion, for that. I think it needs more focus. So I'm hoping to work with the other city council members to kind of get some kind of control on the movement of the city as far as that goes, the expansion. I think we're growing fast. We become a large city. We're not really a small town anymore. With that comes all the opportunity of additional crime and all that. So we need to adjust our focus and move on from that so that we can continue to make this a great city. I've enjoyed living here all these years. I hope that I can get your vote and that you will allow me to serve for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have opening comments from Mr. Josh Wikholm.
Good afternoon, Clarksville. I'm Joshua Wikholm. I'm a 2-time combat veteran, retired staff sergeant from Fort Campbell. I've lived in Clarksville for over 10 years. I'm running because I was asked to by a very good friend of mine, DeJuan Little, who's the current city councilman. I also want to run because of the lack of amenities we have in North Clarksville. A very personal focus on accessibility. We don't have very good accessibility here in North Clarksville. We have a lack of it's not very easy to get to our parks and our recreation areas, and we don't have very many of those as it is. I know this personally from just being able to drive again after 9 years. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you very much. Let's turn to our panelists now. Our first question will come from Mr. J. Albertia, and the first response will be by Mr. Carlos Peters.
Mr. Peters, both of you addressed several issues at the beginning in your opening statements, but if you had to select two specific issues that affected your award right now, what are those two issues and how would you address those?
Well, I think number one for North Clarksville is green space. When you look around the other parts of the city, they built parks, they've done other things for other parts of the city, but North Clarksville, specifically Ward 3, has no real green space. So I think we need to focus on that. That's better for families, and that's what. Second thing is traffic is, and we all know it's traffic. I think we need to focus more on getting a traffic division. I know we do have one, but I think it needs to be expanded upon so that our streets can become safer. I ride motorcycles, and as we know here in Clarksville, there's been a lot of motorcycle accidents. So my focus would be on green space and trying to do something about our traffic situation and with the codes that we currently have.
Mr. Wikholm, you have the next response to that question.
Yeah, so my primary focus would be first doing something about how inaccessible for handicapped people it is to get around, i.e. to the bus stops and the transportation areas, so public transportation. And next would be recreation facilities for youth, because we have a particularly high crime rate in this area, and I believe that if we invest in our youth by, having recreation centers, A, it will bring green spaces, and B, it will lower the crime rate by giving the youth something to do.
Thank you very much. Ms. Susan Zidek, you have the next question. It will go to Mr. Wikholm for the first response.
Thank you. Mr. Wickham, in the last legislative session, legislation providing for a school voucher program supported by the governor failed to move forward. What's your position on how such legislation would impact Clarksville, and what, if anything, would you do if such legislation were offered again?
Well, my current stance on school vouchers as they stand is I don't support them the way they're written. I don't think they're offer equal access across the board. But if they were passed, if legislation is passed and it becomes law and it's something we have to deal with, then it's like wishing a pilot to crash a plane for it to fail. You know what I mean? We would have to do everything we can to support it, make it work for everybody, Currently, as the law stands, I don't support it. Or as the voucher bill is right now, I do not support it.
Mr. Peters?
I agree with Josh on the fact of the way it's written is not correct. But as a candidate, I will say that I support the right to choose for children what school they want to go to. They need the better education. Wherever that is, whichever school that may be, what's best for them, they should have that right to do that. You got private schools coming in. We got one getting ready to open up here in Ward 3. It's on the corner of Ringo Road. You got one there. So if private schools, to me, parents should pay for that. But if we're going to do a school voucher thing, then we need to make it fair across the board. But it is a necessary thing if children are not being taught what they need to be taught in the school they're attending to.
Ms. Lorneth Peters, you've got the next question, and it will go to Mr. Carlos Peters for the first response.
Yes, Mr. Peters, we know education, it's been a challenge as it pertains to funding, and some other things happening in education is sometimes a challenge. What do you consider to be the top challenges we're facing in our education currently, and what would you propose to help with those challenges?
Like I said, Clarksville is no longer a small town. It's becoming a large town. So we're building schools and facilities, but I don't think that we're expanding the schools enough. I think we need to start looking at 2-layer schools, 2-floor schools, make them bigger so that we can contain some of that cost when it comes to the education system in Clarksville. City is growing exponentially no matter where you look. It's just houses and going up everywhere. With that comes a need for schools. So I think we need to look at the school system, how to fund that in the future. I think that's a big thing. School board is up to do that. So my recommendation is that we need to just expand the school system and make it more so that we have less building going on and more facilities for the students.
Mr. Wikholm.
All right, so the school system being a product of the county, it's a little difficult for the city to provide what it needs to the school district to, to perform better. But some areas that I thought of that could help the school district would be maybe provide some support with public transportation, for busing the students. Because the school bus system, we've already seen a couple incidences now where children were left on buses accidentally. I'm pretty sure their parents didn't leave them there. And then we had we have had to rezone the school bus areas. So I think that would help. That's a start right there. Currently, I don't know of any other ways at the moment that the city can provide assistance to the school district.
Mr. Albertia, your next question will go to Mr. Wikholm.
Mr. Wickham, we've talked about finances and the city budget and how that since we're growing, it's harder to move that money around. Can you tell me one department in the city that you think is underfunded and why?
Yes, public transportation. I think it's underfunded because we don't have a very reliable public transportation system as it is. I know from personal experience, for the last 9 years I couldn't drive. I absolutely would not use Clarksville's public transportation system. That's no offense to the people of the public transportation system. I just think it's underfunded and not enough use. And it's because we're growing so fast that we need a better one, Not everybody can drive, and I was one of them for 9 years. That's one.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Peters, your response.
Well, I'm going to say that I don't think it's necessarily underfunded, but I do think we need to expand on the police department. And when I say that, as Josh alluded to earlier, the crime rate is going up in Clarksville. I know that the city is trying to increase the number of officers on the street. I think we need to continue to focus on that so that we can concentrate on the crime that's taking place in Clarksville. So my emphasis would be on doing everything I could to help support the police department.
Thank you very much. Ms. Zidek, you have the next question. It goes to Mr. Peters.
Thank you. Mr. Peters, our society seems more divided than ever, and a number of political leaders tend to be divisive and engage in personal attacks on opponents. What's your position on this trend, and what is your approach to communicating with your political opponents and colleagues?
We're all people. We all got different ideas of how to do things, and we've got our own biases toward things. You look at Josh Wickham here, my opponent. Him and I, we don't have any bad blood. We're running for the same office. We want to do the same thing for Clarksville. But you need to be able to speak to people, regardless of your political affiliation or anything like that. You need to be able to speak to people. And if people would just open up and communicate to one another, then you're going to find that you're much more receptive to what their ideas are. Maybe they'll say something that will change your mind. Maybe you can change their mind. But I think through communication is where it all starts. We have to be able to communicate with each other, and that starts with respecting each other's ideas and our way of life and the way we come, and each of us are raised differently. We got to respect one another. That's how you bring people together.
Mr. Wikholm?
Yes, so first and foremost, this has been the cleanest race I've ever been involved in, and I've been involved in many campaigns, and I'm really enjoying that. So let's just start with that. Secondly, I think that it's a good trend to start right here in this race because it's just abhorrent, some of the things we see going on in campaigns and people attacking each other and for what. And then at the end of the day, they expect each other to shake hands. Oh, no, it's okay. I didn't mean that. We just had a presidential candidate shot because of rhetoric. That's not okay. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping our campaign here can set an example of what right looks like.
Thank you very much. Ms. Peters, you have the next question, and it will go to Mr. Wikholm for the first response.
Yes, you will be the voice of your ward if elected. How do you plan to stay connected to the residents in your ward?
So I previously could not drive for 9 years. I know I keep going back to that. I'm sorry. But I am free now. Free at last. I can leave my house whenever I want to, and I am loving it. I enjoy being out in the community now and seeing everybody. It has been so liberating. So just going around and seeing everybody, and in my mind, that's what a city council person is supposed to be. They're supposed to be present in the community, even if somebody slams a door in their face. And yes, that's happened more than once. Comes with the territory, and so that's how. I already have social media. I'm pretty successful there. That's fine. But actually seeing people face to face and being able to interact with them, that's how.
And Mr. Peters?
I plan on having a monthly forum, if you want to call it that, a get-together, a meeting in a location within our ward. I've already spoken to several previous and current council members on their ideas of how to do that. So my idea would be to, we'll have a place once a month we'll meet, and then I'll still come out and visit people. I'll knock on your door and I'll talk to you, and I'll be present within the community. When we had the tornado, which is one of the reasons why I entered the race, our councilman did not even stop by the neighborhood to see how the neighborhood was, and we lost probably about 8 homes completely in our neighborhood and multiple damages. I plan to be active within the community in Ward 3, and like I say, we will have discussions, and I'll listen to everything you got to say, and like I said before, mutually we'll respect each other's comments, and we'll formulate ideas from that, and that's how we'll make the ward better.
If you have just joined us, you are watching Clarksville's Political Forum. We have the opportunity today to meet with candidates who will be on the ballot November the 5th for the Clarksville City Council Ward number 3. We have time for another round of questions from our panelists. Let's go back to Mr. J. Albertia. Your question will go to Mr. Carlos Peters.
Mr. Peters, every year when the new council persons get elected, there's a division of committees. What committee would you like to be appointed to if elected?
I think I would like to be on the budgeting committee. I think being on that committee, seeing where the money's being spent, so you'd have some kind of input and say on that. I'd like to be on that. I think I would like to also be on the committee for the Park and Recreations Department, so that we can look at making that better than it is. We've got a lot of different community members. We've got visitors come in. I think the downtown commons, where they have the music festivals and that on the weekends, is a great idea. And I think we need to expand on that, maybe to other areas of town. So I think that's Parks and Recreation. I think would be a great area to be a part of.
And Mr. Wikholm?
The Transportation Committee and probably Finance Committee, so we can examine the budget. As my partner here said, I agree. Transportation, see where the funding's going.
Regardless of the committees, they are all tied back to funding and the economy within our city. Miss Susan Zidek, let's go to you for the next question. It will go to Mr. Wikholm.
Thank you, Mr. Wikholm. Consolidation of some city and county services and departments is currently in place. What other areas do you see where we should perhaps consider consolidation?
Well, we were asked questions earlier about the school, and we're getting to that point, because right now there isn't really anything the city can do to support the school. It's 2 different sets of money, 2 different sets of funding. And it's the size and the rate at which Clarksville is expanding. I think that it's about that time. I think we should consolidate. And then maybe we could start contributing to the schools, making them better and providing them with more assets that they need. We're just locked out. The city is locked out from that right now. They can't do it, And that would give the schools some access to the sales tax, that the city receives most of its finances from.
Thank you very much. Mr. Peters?
I have to tend to agree with the school system. The school system's getting so large, and the city council has little to no say in what happens within the school system. At some point, we've got to do what's right for the children of the school system and our communities, and that is to have a voice. We're the voice of the constituents. Therefore, we need to be a voice to have some kind of control of the education system going on within Clarksville. So I definitely agree that we need to be a part of that and consolidate that in the future. Other things that could be consolidated, we got this thing going on about should the county and the city be completely consolidated. That's a tough decision when you start that, because you look at that and you've got same departments where the city or county doing the same jobs. And I think overall we probably need to look at a consolidation in general, not just one or two departments, but in general to save money and to reduce taxes.
Thank you very much. Ms. Lorneth Peters, you have the next question, and it will go to Mr. Carlos Peters.
Yes, Mr. Carlos. What life experiences have shaped your worldview and influenced your decision to run?
Well, like I alluded to a little while ago, when the tornado hit Clarksville, that was an event that brought neighbors together, and you could see nobody cared what party affiliation you was, what color you were, nothing. It was neighbors helping neighbors. Everybody loved one another. So to me, that's a good thing. Then you look at other things. I don't know. It's just a tough question to answer, but you look at other things, and we just need to come together. That's the only way I can just answer that question the best way I can. We need to come together as a people and do what's right for the city.
Mr. Wikholm?
I have many years of working in the community, and I was asked by the councilman who's currently in the seat to run. I put a lot of thought into it. I didn't want to at first, and then I decided to. I've worked with him for many years, and I've been a political science major at Austin P and pre-law. That's the plan. But I figured this would help. Working at this level and learning legislative processes would be good.
Thank you very much. Mr. J. Albertia, you have the last question from our panelists, and it will be addressed to Mr. Wikholm.
Mr. Wikholm, the City Council recently passed, and it started July 1st, new building permit fees. Those fees are now substantially higher than most cities of our size and even Knoxville. Since we have so much growth in Clarksville right now, do you think that is going to inhibit our growth, and do you think that those fees were too substantial?
I don't think they were. I don't think it's going to inhibit our growth at all. I'm not sure what purpose the fees are serving either, though, so I'll have to look into this. The thing is this. We have a lot of unusual fees right now that I think need to be examined, and that's one of them. And we should look into why we're charging these fees and then where the money's going. I think this is part of why I want to be on the finance committee, so we can see exactly what it is we're doing with what money. Things like this, the money ends up disappearing somewhere. I'm not saying somebody's stealing it, but it ends up disappearing into some department or something like that. And what was it supposed to be in the beginning? You know what I mean? What was it supposed to go to? And these are the questions I want the answers to.
Mr. Peters?
I agree with the fee, and I agree with the fee because it's simple mathematics, right? You got builders who are coming into town. They're building homes, businesses, and they're making money hand over fist on this. So why shouldn't they pay toward the city? Why shouldn't they help make things better for the city overall by paying an additional fee? I don't see anything wrong with that whatsoever. Is it getting out of hand? I don't know, because I'm not within the city currently, so I don't know what they've done in the past, but I will just say that I support it. I mean, I think it was a necessary fee. That's the only thing I can say about that, is it's definitely there. They should pay their fair share.
Thank you very much. That concludes our questions from our panelists. We will now go to closing comments from each of our candidates. They will be giving 2 minutes in which to provide their closing remarks. They will be in reverse order from the opening remarks. We'll hear first from Mr. Josh Wikholm.
So to finish my opening remarks, because I kind of stopped in the middle of them, and I'm sorry about that. I'm a junior at Austin Peay State University, a member of 5 honor societies. I'm the president of the Alpha Lambda Delta Honor Society there. And I would appreciate your vote. I would really like to represent Ward 3 and be our voice there. I have a unique perspective as a disabled person and a veteran, which is like 50% of our community at least. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. Closing comments now from Mr. Carlos Peters.
I'm running for this position because I want to work for the people of Ward 3. That's where the focus needs to be, Ward 3. If you just take a look outside your door and you see where we're at, you know we're behind. We've got to get caught up to the rest of the city. I'm going to be your voice to do that. I also am a combat veteran. I served in the military. I did my time. I got out. I went to college. I did 2 years at Austin Peay, and then I got my bachelor's degree out of Phoenix. So that's what I've been doing. I've also had people from the council and higher up ask me to run for this position because they know who I am and what my person is. They know my beliefs. They know that I'm strong in what did I say. I won't just listen to others and follow suit. I will do what's best for the ward. I'm not going to just vote yes just because somebody else wants something passed. If it's not good for the city and not good for Ward 3, I will not vote for it. And I want your vote. I appreciate it if I can get your vote. I'll be out knocking on doors over the next few weeks. Talk to me, ask me questions. I'm more than willing to answer anything you've got. I've spent a lot of time out in the neighborhoods already. I've spoken to a lot of people. I've spent up to an hour and a half with one lady just because she had a lot of questions. Time's not a question here. We will talk as long as we need to talk to make you feel safe and comfortable with voting, giving me your vote. That's my promise to you. I will do everything I can for Ward 3.
Thank you very much. I want to say thank you to each of our candidates here who will be on the ballot for Clarksville City Council Ward number 3, Mr. Carlos Peters and Mr. Josh Wikholm. Thank you for taking time from your schedule, sharing your thoughts and ideas with us here today. But more than that, thank you for your willingness to serve our community as an elected official on the City Council of Clarksville. Remember, early voting for the federal, state, and city of Clarksville general election will take place October the 16th through October the 31st. The location will be at the Election Commission office at 350 Pageant Lane. Once again, Election Day, Tuesday, November the 5th. Thanks to our panelists today, Mr. J. Albertia, Ms. Susan Zidek, Ms. Lorneth Peters. And also thank you to our timekeeper once again, Mr. Phil Harpel. And thanks to the staff here at the Customs House Museum and Cultural Center for hosting today's forum, an iconic place here in Clarksville. Please visit when you have the opportunity. And also thanks to Leadership Clarksville and the Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce and to Rick Goodwin Productions for making this forum possible. Until next time, I'm Van Stokes. Thank you for watching.
For current and exclusive content, subscribe to CDE Lightband, connecting you at the speed of light.